Got it.
It's 8 a.m., and you're tuned to Mississippi's #1 choice for non-stop sports. The Out of Bounds Show with Bo Bounds.
Where am I?
On the Zone 105.9 and online at thezone1059.com.
And the Out of Bounds Show is brought to you by the Bone-In Ribeye, Kessler Prime and the Renaissance, KesslerPrime.com to make a reservation. Also, they have Four Roses small batch, and Four Roses single barrel to pair with your bone-in filet at Kessler Prime. Farm Bureau Insurance call-in line, 601-995-1059. Twitter handle at BoBounds. And the Mississippi Ag John Deere Tractor text line is 601-885-ESPN. 885-ESPN. All right, so we're streaming live on the Out of Bounds radio app. We'll have Lee Sterling coming up next. Handicapper to the gods. ParamountSports.com. Lee Sterling at 8:15. On the Parish Cane Break guest line. It's a super, super delicious wheat ale out of Louisiana. Parish Cane Break. Lee Sterling, 8:15. Handicapper to the gods, powered by the Golden Moon Casino Sportsbook. I got the Blakey Blakester with me. I'm your host, Bo Bounds. Hope you're doing well. We've had a great week of radio, and I want to thank you for going back and listening to the show on Apple Podcast. Search the Out of Bounds Show. Go to Apple Podcast. Search the Out of Bounds Show. That's awesome. You can also listen to the podcast on the Out of Bounds radio app. It's National App Day, so we hope that you will celebrate with us and give yourself an early Christmas gift and download the Out of Bounds radio app. There you go. I had a super dinner last night with some friends at Two Brothers Smoked Meats, street tacos and wings all over the table. I'm about to post a picture of my delicious tacos that I smashed. I had a fried shrimp taco, and then I had their avocado sriracha chicken taco, and then somebody ordered 12.5 wings for the appetizer, and they were delicious. That whole crew had played golf at Old Waverly. I was like, well, rub it in. I mean, y'all have had a good day. You're hanging out with me at dinner at Two Brothers, and you've already played golf at Old Waverly. And one of them had joined Old Waverly while they were there. I mean, the power of Out of Bounds, Blake. Old Waverly, Mossy Oak, two of our awesome partners. Two great golf courses in the state of Mississippi that Mississippians play. And, of course, those two courses bring in people from out of state, which is always good when someone else gets to take a taste of Mississippi. But so that was fun. I got to hear all about that. And then we had a great dinner at Two Brothers Smoked Meats in the historic Cotton District. Blake, I'm looking at this article on theathletic.com by Stuart Mandel on Mississippi State and Ole Miss. Well, it's on everybody, bowl projections. Right now, according to theathletic.com, Mississippi State will play New Year's Eve Day in the Armed Forces Bowl against the Washington Huskies. So
Mike Leach sure does know the Washington Huskies.
Yeah, that would the way that they have
they would abuse Mississippi
shut down Leach as far as offense to defense. That's not ideal. You'd rather win a game tomorrow or next week. You'd rather win a game, period. But you'd rather win a game and win your way out of a matchup against Washington if that all lined up, okay?
That's
but now,
worst case.
Here's where Ole Miss is for Ole Miss fans. So Mississippi State right now, New Year's Eve in the Armed Forces Bowl. Blake, did you tell me that's in San Antonio?
Yes. Armed Forces Bowl
or
is
San Diego.
San Antonio.
Okay. All right. And then Ole Miss is in the Gator Bowl.
Ooh.
Right now. This is the projections, theathletic.com. Ole Miss in the game. This is so good, too. So Leach would be facing a Washington squad that he faced every year at Washington State. Check this out. They have Ole Miss going against Phil Longo in North Carolina in the Gator Bowl.
Ooh.
And Longo has that offense absolutely rolling. And as Longo has proven time and time again, wherever he goes, he moves the ball and they score points, right? And if I was South Alabama, I would have hired Phil Longo tomorrow. But here's the deal. Here's the deal, real quick. North Carolina, Ole Miss, January 2nd in the Gator Bowl. Those are the projections right now according to theathletic.com. And just a little sweetener, in the Cotton Bowl, they have Oklahoma and A&M. And this is terrible. In the Peach, they have Cincinnati and Georgia. Nobody wants to see G5.
Don't talk about Georgia's offense that way.
Fiesta, Southern Cal, Indiana. No, thank you. Orange, Miami, and Florida.
That would be a good game. Diaz
maybe something
versus
there.
Mullen?
Yeah, I mean, Rhett Lashley's made that interesting. I don't know if he'll still be there by January 2nd. Okay, so real quick, I mentioned Chip Long earlier in the week, right? Chip Long, follow me here for just a second. Will Hall is the new head football coach at Southern Miss. It's a good hire by Jeremy. Hope Will surrounds himself with really, really good coordinators and special teams and O-line and then recruiters. But good hire from Jeremy McLean and Dr. Bennett. Dr. Bennett, who's a super guy and a tremendous asset for Southern Miss. Will Hall is the new head football coach at Southern Miss. His roommate at North Alabama, okay, was Chip Long. Follow me here for a second. All right. So Will Hall's from the state of Mississippi. Goes to JUCO as a kid, sets records, goes to North Alabama, starts at quarterback for Mark Hudspeth from Louisville, Mississippi. All right. Will Hall and Chip Long are roommates at North Alabama. All right, then they go out in their coaching career, and they do very, very well. But actually, Chip gets some bigger jobs. Arizona State, Notre Dame offensive coordinator, and so on. His offensive scoring efficiency numbers are really, really good. He is very, very, very talented play caller. For whatever reason, he and Brian Kelly, were all in water at some point. It was really good for a while. And then whatever. Well, Jeremy Pruitt, bless his heart, right? Mr. Asparagus. Jeremy Pruitt hired Chip Long as an offensive analyst. And, of course, Tennessee hasn't gotten anything going this year, right? Instead of hiring Chip Long as an OC this past year, maybe saving his job and prolonging his career at Tennessee. Follow me. Chip Long, Will Hall, roommates at North Alabama. Chip Long was named the offensive coordinator at Tulane, replacing his best friend and former college roommate, Will Hall. Will Hall was the OC at Tulane. He is now the head football coach at Southern Miss. I want you to keep an eye on this. One, what Will Hall does at Southern Miss. Is this a job interview for the Ole Miss or MSU job? People pegged him for Ole Miss. He would take either one, I promise. Just depending on what happens in the future. All right, one. Two, keep an eye on Chip Long. Willie Fritz is an excellent coach. Tulane has won, and, it's not easy to win there. Willie Fritz is really good at what he does. And Chip Long is his new offensive coordinator. And he is a future head coach, too. So I just wanted to point all that out. That's like Mississippi, Southern Miss, North Alabama, Tulane. Chip Long was the offensive coordinator at Notre Dame. Now he's the offensive coordinator at Tulane. And they're both young dudes. They're like 39 or 40 years old. The Out of Bounds Show is brought to you by Eye Care Professionals and Dr. Kirk Jeffries and the crew on Lakeland Drive. Blade-free LASIK and cataract surgery. Eye Care Professionals. Eye Care Professionals. Dr. Kirk Jeffries, blade-free LASIK and cataract surgery. Lee Sterling, handicapper to the gods, coming up next. All right, we're live from Stark Vegas. Welcome in. Auburn at Mississippi State tomorrow night. Here's what's crazy. MSU's going to a bowl game either way. I know, that's insane. But they need a W on the way out the door. So they have 2 home games. Auburn tomorrow, winnable, but an underdog. Missouri next week, they'll be an underdog again, but a winnable ball game. So we're going to start with that game with our friend Lee Sterling, ParamountSports.com, 800-400-9741, 800-400-9741 is his number. You're going to want to remember that in about 6 minutes. We welcome in Lee Sterling, ParamountSports.com, on the Abita Amber guest line. Lee, let's start with Auburn at Mississippi State. The spread's about 6.5. Who do you like and why?
So Mississippi State is going to a bowl game. Did I hear you correctly?
Yes.
So
yes.
I guess that you don't have to have a winning record this year. Did they do away with that qualification?
They did.
Oh,
they did.
Okay. I wasn't aware of it. I've been so busy dodging the games that get canceled.
Well, here's what's great, Lee, real quick. They have 12 tie-ins. Vandy's not going. South Carolina's not going. There's one other team. So yeah, they're going to make a. They're going to make LSU.
Great.
LSU bowl band. So they're going to a bowl. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's great. Good for the kids. So for 3 quarters last week, Auburn played well enough to beat A&M. They just couldn't finish. And I thought also Texas A&M, I thought Jimbo Fisher really dialed up some really good play calling, and they really finally put it all together. But Mississippi State also found their guy in quarterback Will Rogers. Last couple games, almost 800 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, and most importantly, no interceptions. I think he's going to have some success here against the Auburn number 72 pass defense. The extra week of prep time should be helpful here. And Auburn, they could also fall to 500 with a loss. I think Auburn's going to escape with a win, 27-24, but I'm taking the 6.5 here in State.
That's where I am on it. So
Yep.
Lee Sterling, he looks for a close game tomorrow, but he'll take the 6.5, and he likes Auburn in a close one, which means it could go either way. Hopefully it's a good game tomorrow night in Starkville. Lee Sterling, ParamountSports.com. Lee, what's going on this weekend?
Well, we're going to keep winning, hopefully. I mean, it's been an incredible year during trying times. I mean, what we've done is amazing. We're here till sometimes 1, 2 in the morning. And, I mean, we won 11 out of 14 weeks. We had the Washington football team. On Monday, we had that big upset over the undefeated Steelers. We had, last night, the Rams. So they want to get involved. 5 games, $55. And normally you have to be a monthly or season subscriber to get my 40 to 50 unit plays. We have a rare 45-unit play in college football going tomorrow night. How can you get on it? I'm going to release it with the 5 for 55. So we're 49, 17, and 1 over the last 13 years on these games. So you want to hop on board, ParamountSports.com, 5 selections, just $55. And also do the UFC. Normally it's $55 for 5 selections. UFC 256 goes tomorrow night. 5 selections there, just $5. Why am I releasing for $5 5 UFC selections? Well, I know if I go 3-2, 4-1, or 5-0, you're going to want to keep riding with me. So check it all out, ParamountSports.com.
Lee Sterling on the Out of Bounds Show, 800-400-9741. Lee, LSU is imploding. They're in disarray. Yep. They go to Gainesville, but 23 is still a lot of points. Is it too many tomorrow?
So I'm hearing as many as 10 to 12 guys are going to hit the transfer portal after this game, Sunday or Monday. So a lot of unrest. I mean, they might say it's an asterisk year, but if they lose this game, this will be the first losing season since '99 when they went 3-8 under Gary DiNardo. It's been that bad a year. So last week, Mac Jones of Alabama torched the LSU secondary for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns. And that was not for the game. That was in the first half. I don't see Florida taking their foot off the gas. They want to get things going smoothly before the Alabama game. Kyle Trask has 38 touchdown passes. You either pass on this game or you play the Gators. I'm playing the Gators, 48-17.
All right, so Lee Sterling has the Florida Gators tomorrow against LSU. Now, this could be one of the best games of the weekend. Lee Sterling, ParamountSports.com. Miami and North Carolina. Who do you like and why, Lee?
So do you remember the game in '99 where Miami, with Edgerrin James, I think he had like 299 rushing yards, played UCLA? Remember that game at the end of the year? The rescheduled game?
I mean, Butch, he went to the Cleveland Browns. Anyway, yes, I remember. Yeah.
Okay. I think the final was 49-45. So UCLA was ranked number 1. Neither team is, ranked in the top 5, but I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. North Carolina can score 43 points per game this year. Their defense isn't great. They give up 35. Miami scores 33 points per game. They played a couple games in pouring rain. In fact, the only time they played, their defense is pretty good, but only played one good offense, and that was Clemson, and they gave up 42 points in the rain. Miami lost their best cornerback, Blades. They only have 4 scholarship cornerbacks here, and 2 are true freshmen. North Carolina quarterback Sam Howell has 64 touchdowns, passes in less than 2 years. I think North Carolina's going to be playing with a chip on their shoulder after losing at home to Notre Dame a couple weeks ago, while Miami, they might be a little high on the hog after shellacking a defenseless Duke team 48-0. In a barn burner, North Carolina pulls the upset 45-42.
Oh, wow. All right, Phil Longo is a heck of an offensive coordinator for North Carolina. Lee Sterling,
yeah, but he had one big hiccup. It was that Notre Dame game. Notre Dame defensive scheme, their blitz scheme was incredible that game. So he has something to prove here, and I think he'll be ready.
There you go. Lee Sterling, ParamountSports.com. Lee, 31 points. Alabama at Arkansas, is that too many?
Yeah, I think it might be. I expect Arkansas to compete, score some early. I mean, no one slowed down the Alabama offense, let's be honest. But this might be the ultimate sandwich game if I've ever seen one. So Alabama's off playing Auburn and LSU. Who do they have next week? Florida. SEC championship game. That's what they call a sandwich game. The Hogs play hard. They've covered 9 of 11 games. I think they might have found a quarterback for the future. And KJ Jefferson, dual threat, I think he'll move the chains enough. I think Alabama wins 47-21, but Arkansas covers.
How about that? And KJ Jefferson from Mississippi. All right, 800-400-9741. Lee, I'll tee you up. Game of the week.
Yeah. Game of the week this week is going to be Georgia and Missouri. 2 teams on the rise playing good football. Should be a fun game to watch. You want to get this winner? 800-400-9741. Call that number right now. 800-400-9741. And if you want to hop on board, 5 selections in football, $55. It's an instant download. Or 5 UFC selections for UFC 256, just $5. It's up and available right now. Go to ParamountSports.com.
And you said you have a 45-unit play in college football this weekend. Is that right?
Yep. We're gonna hit on it. So let's have a big weekend.
49. He's documented 49, 17, and 1 on his 40.
Now I'm going to text you the game right now, so you've got it. As soon as the game starts Saturday night, feel free to tweet it out. Okay, Bo?
Boom. There it is. Lee Sterling, ParamountSports.com. Thanks, Lee.
Okay. Thanks, Bo.
So he has a 45-unit play in college football this weekend. 800-400-9741, ParamountSports.com. 45-unit play for Lee Sterling this weekend. The Out of Bounds Show, 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. We'll have Dave. Oh, there's the game. He just texted to me. Interesting. 45-unit play, ParamountSports.com. 45-unit play. Also, if you want the game of the week, 800-400-9741. That segment was powered by the Golden Moon Casino Sportsbook. Bet $50 there. Play Dancing Rabbit Golf Club for $30. Out of Bounds, 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. Hey, Blake, I like where you picked that Auburn-Mississippi State game. I wrote down earlier 26-24. He had 27-24.
Love it. Let's go. Give me a close one.
Yeah, that's a good game. I think Missouri and Georgia can be a close game, and North Carolina and Miami could also be a good game, and we'll have some other ones that fill in. We'll be back in a second. Dave Bartu at 9:30. .com. Man, oh man, oh man. Football Friday on the Out of Bounds Show, brought to you by Independent Roofing Company, the #1 commercial roofing company in Mississippi and the Southeast. Locally owned and operated in Jackson, Mississippi. Independent Roofing. Roofing.ms. Jobs like the Golden Moon Casino, Nissan, the Beau Rivage, among many others. Independent Roofing Company. Roofing.ms. Independent Roofing Company. Out of Bounds, 105.9 The Zone. I may do the rest of the show on this. Oh, goodness. I've got some big news. Let's see. Y'all ready?
Share with us.
All right, 105.9 The Zone, Out of Bounds. Guess who turned 62 years old today?
Oh, happy birthday, Bo.
Thank you. Smart ass. All right. Let's Nikki Sixx with Motley Crue. One of the best bands of all time.
The Crew.
First of all, how in the world did he make it to 62 years old?
No idea.
Well, he's got the same DNA as Keith Richards. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what that is, but whatever it is, we all need it. And so Nikki Sixx turns 62 years old today, and we would like to know from here on out your favorite Motley Crue song. Text us on the Mississippi Ag John Deere Tractor text line 601-885-3776. Have you watched the movie, Blake?
I have not watched the movie, but I've listened to a billion of their songs over the years.
All right. So,
which is surprising because I love those rock like I've watched a ton of band mockumentaries or however you want to say.
Sure. Well, I've had an opportunity to see him in concert, and I did watch the movie, the rock documentary, and it's pretty entertaining. It's light, it's easy. Obviously, it's women and booze and all kinds of crazy stuff going on. But Tommy Lee, Vince Neil, Nikki Sixx, Mick Mars, Motley Crue. So Nikki Sixx is 62. Oh, look at that. Who doesn't like that song?
Wild Side's incredible.
Sandwich.
I mean, turn it up a little bit. There you go. That reminds people of going to the dock in 1988.
Ooh, yeah.
Holy moly. Did you leave the T-tops on or did you leave them at the house? Oh, goodness gracious. Man, oh man. Where's Chris Brooks? Oh, that's great. That gets you ready on a Friday.
We can do a little Motley Crue the rest of the day. We can make that
All
work.
right. I'm in. I was going through the studio albums, Shout at the Devil, Girls, Dr. Feelgood, Motley Crue. Yep.
Dr. Feelgood is a fantastic song.
It is. It is, for sure.
Is that one of your favorite rock, like, of that era? Is Motley Crue the number one?
Oh,
for
no
you,
question.
Okay.
It could be my favorite. I'd have to think through that with Guns N' Roses.
Is that like your Desert Island album? You know, when they say, like, what's the one album you take to the Desert Island type thing?
Oh, man.
You take Motley Crue's greatest hits or something like that?
See, that was right in my wheelhouse. So Guns N' Roses opened up for Motley Crue at the Mississippi or whatever it's called, Coliseum.
Can you imagine that? Guns N' Roses and Motley Crue as a tandem tour event?
Those idiots.
Like,
yeah.
Are you kidding me?
All right, and this is like 4 to 6 months before Guns N' Roses' Appetite for Destruction blew up, okay? And so Guns N' Roses opens for Crue, and then boom, Appetite for Destruction goes number one, and they become, a huge rock band, metal, heavy hair band, whatever. too. But that was two good ones, man, for sure. That was back when the Coliseum, for whatever reason, it was one concert after another. Metallica and like I said, Motley Crue and Whitesnake and Great White and Rat and Cinderella and all. Look, Cinderella, Gypsy Road. There's some really, really good music in the 80s. I know people love to make fun of it, but shout out to Nikki Sixx, who turned 62 today. I actually read most of his book. I don't know what that says about me, but anyway.
How about the fact that, like you just said, Jackson was actually like cooking with a little economic development there, a little concert action going on for a minute.
I can't imagine, because it was just such a more unsophisticated, unrefined time, back even in the 80s, much less the 60s and the 70s. But having read Jerry Weintraub's book on touring with, Led Zeppelin and Elvis and even Sinatra and many other, John Denver and many other bands, I can't imagine what was going on behind the scenes when all of us were rocking on the floor to these bands. But what was going on behind the scenes in the dressing rooms, because it was just a kind of a wild, wild west time. It doesn't matter what genre of music was touring, and it's insane that any of these people are still with us the way they were rolling.
Yes.
Hard.
And that's one of those one-time things. If you could do anything one time, it'd be go on like the tour bus of a rock concert, like the real rock tour. You know what I mean? Like the real deal.
No question. If who would you want?
What band do you want to party with? Or are we going to ask that question?
If you could go on one 6-month tour.
Oh, man. That's so hard. Oh, I don't know. That's tough.
One 6-month tour with what band and why?
That's.
I know why. I think I know why.
I might go with the Jimi Hendrix Experience. That'd be a fun one.
Yeah, that would have been.
That'd have been wild.
That would have been wild. I want to get back into this. Thank you for letting me talk about Motley Crue for 10 minutes. I want to get back into this article on theathletic.com about bowl projections. And they dropped it this morning. And this is where we are right now. And this is obviously subject to change, but Ole Miss in the Gator Bowl on January 2nd against North Carolina. North Carolina's defense is not any good.
Nope.
That could be a lot of fun for Ole Miss. However, North Carolina's offense with Phil Longo is really good. You know how Mississippi State and Ole Miss over time as fans, Blake, we think that we think we know something, but we really don't. Like we label a coach that has gone through our program and we think that guy wasn't really good, and we're wrong. Phil Longo is one of those guys.
He caught a bad break.
Phil Longo is an excellent play caller. His track record is really, really good. And he runs a modern, modified version of the air raid, just like Lane Kiffin, Jeff Lebby at Ole Miss, Kendall Briles at Arkansas, Rhett Lashley at Miami, and the list could go on and on. Heck, Cliff Kingsbury with the Arizona Cardinals, Graham Harrell with the Southern Cal Trojans. And the article that was dropped a couple weeks ago on Phil Longo, when he had to go to a coaching clinic in Lexington, Kentucky in the late 90s, when Mike Leach and Hal Mumme were at Kentucky, is a great piece because he was making so little. He's making close to $1 million a year right now at North Carolina, or maybe over $1 million as the coordinator. How things have changed in the world of sports and coaching and salaries. But in the late 90s, Phil Longo is in New Jersey, I think, packs up his car, goes to a coaching clinic to learn the air raid under Mike Leach and Hal Mumme, and he sleeps in his car. That was his budget. He sleeps in his car. And it's that's hard for a lot of people, not everybody, But that's hard for a lot of people to wrap their brain around, that he was actually employed. I mean, we have people listening that the only thing they've ever known is a nice expense account, jumping on planes, whining and dining people. Phil Longo, the current offensive coordinator at North Carolina, drove to Lexington, Kentucky for a coaching clinic to learn the air raid and slept in his car. Now, fast forward 22, 23 years later, and he's the offensive coordinator for North Carolina, and teams, schools would be crazy not to hire him at the G5 level. There are others, too. Okay, so he's not the only one, but if I'm South Alabama, I hire Phil Longo. If I'm Southern Miss and the Will Hall thing didn't work out, I hire Phil Longo. He'll do an excellent job. He's been an OC for a long time. He's been a play caller. He understands how to put together the game plan. And guess what else he does? He knows how to recruit. Just ask Ole Miss. Okay? Look at the players that he left Ole Miss on the offensive side of the football. Matt Corral was recruited to run the Phil Longo, Lane Kiffin, Jeff Lebby offense. How smooth of a transition was that with Corral and Elijah Moore and Sanders and Drummond and Uboa and all these dudes? Right. It was a seamless sandwich, as Cooper Vesey used to say. And so North Carolina, Ole Miss in the Gator Bowl January 2nd. I'll take it. Now, here's the other bowl projection for Mississippi State. They've got you on New Year's Day in the Armed Forces Bowl against Washington.
Not good.
Now, the reason why that's not good is because it's not that because you're playing in a bowl game. That is good. It's because Washington was able to shut Mike Leach down pretty much every time they played him. All right, we were wrong, by the way. I asked Blake earlier, and I should have known this too. The Armed Forces Bowl is in Dallas, is in Fort Worth, not San Antonio. It's at TCU Stadium.
Oh, Texas Bowl is San Antonio.
Yeah,
too many bowls in Texas.
You'll go, if you go to the Armed Forces Bowl, you will be on the campus of TCU, and if they have fans, you'll stay in Fort Worth or Dallas.
Stop in and see Jerry.
Okay.
Tell him stop giving Zeke and Jalen Smith money.
Yeah. The Texas Bowl has Arkansas right now against TCU.
Yes.
Just to give you an idea. You know how I just mentioned the tie between Will Hall, Mississippi guy, now at Southern Miss, head coach, and his roommate at North Alabama under Mark Hudspeth, who called a bunch of passes from Will Hall? I think he was like a big-time tight end at North Alabama. His name's Chip Long. He's been the offensive coordinator at Arizona State and Notre Dame. He was an offensive analyst for the University of Tennessee this year. Well, he just replaced his good friend, Will Hall, Tulane, as the OC. They've got Liberty and Tulane in the Birmingham Bowl. These are projections according to theathletic.com. Now, there could be a lot of movement with what could happen tomorrow and next weekend on this. And if Mississippi State wins a game, they may win their way out of the Armed Forces Bowl in Fort Worth and may win their way into another bowl. I think the next step would be the Liberty. They've got Tennessee in the Liberty right now against Oklahoma State. But you want to avoid a matchup with Washington. That's for sure. But you want to go to a bowl game. So, hey. Now, the one thing is Leach will be playing with better athletes at Mississippi State than at Washington State, but he's still planning on upgrading that through recruiting, obviously, in the next year or two, because we've talked about that for shows how Mississippi State needs better offensive skill talent. But I thought I'd share with you the newest bowl projections. MSU New Year's Eve Day, Armed Forces Bowl, Fort Worth, Ole Miss, January 2nd, Gator Bowl against North Carolina and Phil Longo. Also, Keaton Thompson, former Mississippi State quarterback. You know, Keaton was Dan's first. It took him forever, and a lot of people ask why, and I can't answer that question. Although Dak ended up being a great player, he wasn't a huge recruit. I guess that's how far behind Mississippi State was in the eyes of recruits, offensive skill recruits. But it took Dan a long time to land what you would consider a highly coveted quarterback at Mississippi State, even though he did a great job with Chris Relf, Tyler Russell, Dak Prescott. But Keaton Thompson was a 4-star out of New Orleans. They had to beat Oregon, Virginia, Texas, and Ole Miss. You know, he enrolled early. It was crazy. He was a top 10 dual threat QB nationally. And Keaton has transferred to Georgia, and he got injured, but he's been playing more lately. And they use him running the football, and he has rushed for 37 rushes for 232 yards. I think that's more than all the Mississippi State team combined. But he has 32 rushes for 232, and then he's caught 6 passes for 87 yards and 2 TDs. How about that?
You mentioned Phil Longo, too, thinking about the ACC and Keaton Thompson being at Virginia. But Phil Longo, his offense at North Carolina, scoring the 12th most points a game, 41 points. He's averaging over 540 yards a game, 210 on the ground, 3-something in the air. And they're scoring points at will at North Carolina. So
yes.
That would be a fun game. And if you're interested in what they would look like if Ole Miss were to play them, you need to tune in to Miami, North Carolina this weekend because it should be a good game.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Ole Miss fans, you may draw North Carolina in the bowl game. You want to watch Phil Longo's offense? There you go. Blake just nailed it. Tar Heels, Hurricanes. You may want to watch some of that game. I know you'll watch the Mississippi State game. We all will, Dogs and Rebs, tomorrow night at 6:30. That is the ribeye medium rare, Four Roses bourbon game tomorrow night at 6:30. Speaking of, Blake, I should have identified that earlier in the week. Let me go back here. I'll have to see what is the
Tito's Vodka Bloody Mary game of the week? It's either Bama, Arkansas,
Alabama.
or Georgia, Missouri.
No, it's Georgia, Missouri.
Yeah.
It's Georgia, Missouri
See,
tomorrow morning.
it's split out really well.
Game.
You get Georgia, Missouri to start your day, and I think Missouri will be more competitive than I guess you would have thought coming into the year. You get Navy, Army at 2:30, and you get North Carolina, Miami at 2:30, so you can kind of flip back and forth on whatever you want. And then you get LSU, Florida at 6, and Auburn, Mississippi State at 6:30. So it's a good, well-rounded day for the viewing.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, all right, guys, remember this. Georgia, Missouri is going to be a good game. I mean, it's got a chance to be a good game. That's an early game. That's the Tito's Vodka Bloody Mary game with some bacon, celery, and green beans and so on. So, and you can get your Sauced in the South Bloody Mary mix at the All Lifestyle Shop in the Township. It is delicious, and it tastes like an amazing Bloody Mary in the Warehouse District in New Orleans. Sauced in the South Bloody Mary mix at the All Lifestyle Shop in the Township. All right, Jay tweets us on Twitter at Bowbounds, and he's wrong again. And I love calling out Jay because we have fun banter here. He says Corral was terrible in Longo's offense, man. No, he wasn't. You've either forgotten what happened 2 years ago or whatnot. Corral was a true freshman, and he wasn't ready.
He didn't play. He threw 16 passes.
Right.
How can you say he played?
You know, you didn't get an injury to Tamu till later in the season. And once Jordan started getting knocked out here and there, Corral would come in. But, I memean, once Corral went in the Golden Egg game, he was facing a defense that was just, too much for him. And they weren't going to do anything. That had nothing to do with Phil Longo. He just had to play a true freshman QB. And Corral wasn't, he didn't really play that much, one. Two, playing as a true freshman doesn't really work. But Longo's numbers speak for themselves. Don't listen to the guy at lunch today. He has no idea what he's talking about. Phil Longo is an excellent play caller and an excellent offensive coordinator. All right. Out of Bounds, ESPN 105.9 The Zone is brought to you by Portico, the Portico Development in Starkville. And it's not but 3 minutes from Dudy Noble Field. They've got 4 move-in ready homes for either game day or to live year-round. It's a beautiful development. Portico Development in Starkville. Now is the time to check out everything that they're doing. You want to call this number, 662-338-0882. 662-338-0882. That's McBride Real Estate. McBride Real Estate, Portico Development in Starkville. The show is also brought to you by Independent Roofing, #1 commercial roofing company in Mississippi and the Southeast. That's Independent Roofing. Look at you dropping some Motley Crue.
Yeah, man. If I'd realized it was his birthday, I probably would have started the show with it, but that wasn't on my radar. I wasn't tuned
it's
into
National Salesperson Day, Blake.
That's correct.
Who should we dedicate that to?
I'm going to say Brett Bielema because he did the best sell job of all time when he got married.
Oh, wow. Wow. Okay.
JK, Ross Bjork, because he somehow went from Ole Miss up to Texas A&M without doing
No,
anything
it's got to be
positive.
Ross Bjork. And the Erkslavin Award of Excellence has to be the Texas A&M president that hired him.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a good point. Ross Bjork goes from Ole Miss, where that was an absolute dumpster fire.
I don't know how you run something so poorly and then get a promotion. It's the most remarkable thing in the world.
Went McGee just texted me. He said National Sales Day is always be closing. ABC, baby. MortgageManMS.com. He'll shop the best rates for you. Went McGee. MortgageManMS.com. Rates are good. Buying a new home, condo. If you're going to buy a home at Portico, right? Portico Development. Went McGee can finance it for you. You need to get approved first and then go do the deal. Went McGee, MortgageManMS.com. All right. And I had dinner with Carrie Pennebaker, who is building the homes at Portico, along with the group of Todd Sandridge, Trey Pace, and Brooks Bryan. That's the Portico Development, 3 minutes from Dudy Noble Field. National Sales Day. Who's the best salesman in the SEC in football? Ooh. Who's the best salesman? Sam Pittman sold himself on getting a job. No, most of you didn't even know who he was.
Shane Beamer?
Oh, my gosh. Will Muschamp for getting a job again in the SEC after Florida? Muschamp's made $40 million to throw up losing season after losing season. It's National Salesperson Day. Best salesman in the Southeastern Conference. Ooh, we could have some fun with this. Hugh Freeze was at one point. Dave Bartu at 9:30. He'll join us on the Sierra Nevada Pale Ale guest line.